Hello and welcome back to the Movie Attic. I'm Mike, and as I've said a million times, this is the Attic where I discuss and review movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks for all the nice people out there in YouTube land. Today's big movie is, and review, Invasion of the Astro Monster from 1965. This is a movie I wanted to squeeze in before the end of the year because it's the 60th anniversary of the movie. Of course, that's the US title. I believe the Japanese title was Great Monster War, and the US home video title was Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, which if you've seen this movie, then you probably know that the monsters are kind of numbered. King Ghidorah is 0, Godzilla is 1. I don't know, Rodan was 2 maybe. So I grew up, like I said before a million times, I watched these movies as a kid. This is one I had seen as a kid, so the review's going to be kind of skewed because of that. I believe this is the first Godzilla movie that has the aliens type aspect to it. Of course, there would be many others after this. Destroy All Monsters, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Godzilla Final Wars. In fact, my oldest son told me right before I was coming up to review this that the aliens have the same name, or they're the same type of aliens in Final Wars as this movie. Of course, this isn't Toho's first rodeo with aliens. There was this movie, The Mysterians, and several others before this. So, it's not an element that's, particularly new. Just involving Godzilla is the only new aspect to it. I guess I could try and tell this horrible story. I assume that's why you tune in. Why else would you? So you have these two astronauts. They go to this planet. The one goes to plant the flag in the ground at the planet. They find out that there's life on this planet, or aliens on this planet, or in this planet, because it seems like they're underground. Of course, these aliens, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything here, you can tell these aliens aren't trustworthy. They kind of do a little charade type thing where they're trying to pretend like King Ghidorah is menacing them. They want to be able to come to Earth and get Godzilla and Rodan, take them to their planet, and have them fight, King Ghidorah or Monster Zero. But that's not what they really want to do. They really want to bring them to the planet, and then I don't know if they implant some kind of mind control thing, but they want to control Godzilla and Rodan, then attack Earth and take control of Earth. So there you go. That's about as quick as I could tell the story. And you might be saying, well, why should I tune into this? There's a million channels that probably reviewed this movie. Well, I don't know. Anybody would tune in. But I will say I do have something probably that some of the channels don't have, and that is the 4K of the movie. This is the Japanese release. I had gotten it from Amazon. It was free shipping, like from Japan. The only trouble with these releases, and I mentioned this in a previous video, there is no English subtitles. So unless you speak Japanese. But I also said in a previous video, I've seen this movie so many times that I know what's going on. it's not necessarily that big a deal. But I also said in a previous video that there's certain players, if you have a certain 4K player, there's a way to get subtitles for it. I can barely run this dog and pony show here, let alone do something that complicated. This is one of those, this might be the first one of these movies that had an American actor in. This guy right here, Nick Adams. I assume that was to broaden the appeal of the movie. Of course, Toho had done it with other movies, like King Kong Escapes and Latitude Zero. So, and part of this story, too, is this Nick Adams kind of falls in love with this alien woman. They all look the same. So I assume, and there's many of them, I assume they're clones of some kind. But, yeah, and the two astronauts, not the Nick Adams character, but the other character that's the astronaut, he has a sister. She's in love with this inventor guy. But her brother doesn't necessarily care for him. But he has an invention that kind of ends up saving the planet. I know that might be a spoiler alert, but like I said, I really like this movie. I believe it's in the 2:35:1 aspect ratio. I don't believe there's any HDR or any of that stuff. I will say there's... Now, these releases from Japan, all the menu stuff is in Japanese, and I don't read Japanese, but I did find the audio, and there is an option for, I think, a 2.0 or a 5.1 remix from 2003. So I chose that option, and it sounded good. I didn't have any problems with it. Looks-wise, though, I really liked the way it looked. If you see the shots of them on the planet and with the rocket, just very crisp, and I thought it looked really, really good. The only downfall, like I said, about some of these movies is the dip in quality when they're using that special effect of the rear projection. That's always soft, and I don't think there's any way around that unless you used, you know, some kind of technology that people don't care for, like AI. But I'm not here to talk about AI or any of that stuff. I did get this book quite a while ago, and of course there's a chapter right there all about Invasion of the Astro Monster, and I don't know if you can see that picture, but that's the aliens taking Godzilla and Rodan out of their little place and taking them up to the planet. I will say, too, this is one of those Godzilla movies that has one of those crazy moments. You know, some of them have some really weird moments, like the most famous one, I think, is Godzilla sliding on his tail to drop kick somebody. But this one has one that's almost in that same realm where Godzilla is hopping up, doing all these different poses when he's bouncing. And I did... I had this book too, which I got because of another channel that I watched. But there's Godzilla hopping up and down. So that's kind of a crazy, you know, if you watch some of these Godzilla movies, you almost know what to expect. There's a little craziness here and there. But like I said, I like it because I grew up watching these things, and I grew up watching this one in particular. So, if I was to rate this movie, which I guess that's why we're here, or at least that's why I'm here. I don't know why you're here. This is like the. Speaking of B movies, this is kind of like the B movie of YouTube channels. But regardless of that, if I was to rate this movie, I would give it 8.5 rolls of pink insulation out of 10. It's one of those comfort movies for me, and it was a complete pleasure to rewatch it for this episode. Yeah, like I say, the picture looks great. The only downfall is that subtitle deal, at least for me, as I don't speak Japanese. Although I do know quite a few words now because of watching all these things. But I guess if you've seen this movie or you have the 4K or have seen the 4K, or you just like Godzilla in general, leave a comment of what your favorite Godzilla movie is. Down in the comments section. I'd love to discuss it like I always say. So I guess that'll do it for this episode. So until next time when I have a completely different movie here in the attic, which the next episode will be with my son. It'll be a Christmas movie. I won't tell you which one. So until then, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.